I think there's just something special about seeing a comedy movie in theaters, and that's why I was disappointed when Happy Gilmore 2 went straight to Netflix. And I understand it's a part of Sandler's deal with the big dogs, but still, Happy Gilmore is what I consider a comedy classic. It hits all 3 points of what I think makes a perfect comedy movie. Now, comedy movies are very different from a show because the premise has to be there. Some shows have great premises, no doubt. Three's Company or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air certainly do, but for the most part, it doesn't matter because a show can build over time, finding out what exactly makes it funny. Seinfeld, the most successful sitcom ever, basically has no premise. The show's selling point isn't what it's about, it's that it's funny. Or maybe even the premise is that, hey, Jerry Seinfeld is funny, so watch this. A more modern example could be Tires. But movies do not have the same luxury. You need to have a premise that is funny because you're going to build all of the jokes off of this central idea. A great comedy film in my mind has a premise that can be described in 1 to 2 sentences and you're immediately interested in seeing it. Wedding Crashers, 2 best friends who show up uninvited at weddings and have a blast. Weekend at Bernie's, 2 best friends, rich boss unexpectedly dies and they must carry his body around like a giant puppet. 21 Jump Street, 2 cops have to go back to high school undercover. Meet the Parents. Imagine if your girlfriend's dad was Robert De Niro. Granted, there's some exception to this rule, such as Superbad, but for the most part, a great comedy movie has an immediately funny idea behind it, which then leads us to our second point. Now, most comedy movies are around 90 minutes. 2 hours is really the max you'll see. Within that 90 minutes, you're going to try to hit every possible joke from the initial premise. And in order to create an elite comedy movie, you must deliver that premise the audience wants with all the jokes you can possibly make with it as soon as possible. To show this, let's compare 2 comedies with strong premises, Wedding Crashers and Weekend at Bernie's. Both have very strong, funny ideas at their core, but Weekend at Bernie's takes over a third of its runtime building up to the core idea of the film. You've wasted a third of your movie with comedy that the audience did not come to see. They came to see the core premise be presented, and it hasn't yet. You're just wasting their time. Let's contrast that to Wedding Crashers, where within the opening 15 minutes of Wedding Crashers, you've already had the shout montage. The audience has already seen and enjoyed the comedy you promised them, the jokes they came for, and the premise they thought was funny going into the film. Timing and pacing are everything with comedy movies, and if you don't deliver the movie the audience came for quickly, the film suffers as a whole. But now you might say, okay, Ryan, I made my comedy movie with a great premise, and I delivered the idea to its fullest, hit all the jokes possible in the first 20 minutes. Now what? The audience has seen the comedy it came for, but how do we change that initial idea into something new? Not something wholly different, something that plays with the original idea behind the film, but adds an entirely new wrinkle. Let's go back to Wedding Crashers and Weekend at Bernie's because both make attempts at this. In Weekend at Bernie's, well, I guess spoilers for Weekend at Bernie's, has that ever been said on YouTube? Anyways, it's revealed that Bernie was actually going to have Richard and Larry, our 2 main characters, killed as they found he was stealing money from the company. Now, this doesn't work because it has basically nothing to do with the core comedy of the film. This adds nothing to the comedy of Bernie's body being there. It creates a whole new plot line that the audience has borderline zero interest in. Now it becomes running from this villain in this movie. This isn't the comedy the audience wanted to see, and it's not a new wrinkle into what was already established. Now let's compare that to Wedding Crashers, where Owen Wilson's character falls in love with Rachel McAdams after it's already been established that he never catches feelings. This creates an entirely new wrinkle to the wedding crashing. There's stakes now. The wedding crashing is still occurring, but it's no longer the fun and games it was before. Now there's competing with Rachel McAdams' boyfriend in front of her parents. And side note, Bradley Cooper is just so good in this movie. He's absolutely hilarious. I miss when he was in comedies, but the problem is he's such a good actor. I don't want him to stop making his current films. He's just a real talent. You gotta love Bradley Cooper. These new elements introduced are adjacent to the wedding crashing, but not something you initially expected to see. These elements still fit within the core idea behind the movie, but they're a bit perpendicular to the original concept and premise of the film. I think I used the word perpendicular correctly, but I must admit, if my high school geometry teacher watches this, I'm sorry if I misused it. Anyways, sometimes the premise change can just be a character. Shooter McGavin is that flip of the premise. He makes Happy Gilmore a comedy classic. He elevates the sports comedy in a whole new way by having a hilarious villain to create a rivalry with. Happy Gilmore makes fun of golf culture by showing a complete opposite of the culture you expect. This buttoned-up country club atmosphere is destroyed by Happy Gilmore and his followers. What's the natural wrinkle to that comedy? Add someone who completely represents that stereotype and have them play off of each other. It's not just about Happy Gilmore smashing the ball into the green. He now has someone to compete against that is the very idea he is against. Now, there's been some positive buzz around this new Naked Gun movie, and I'm hoping we can see the return of great comedy movies in theaters. Comedians like Shane Gillis and Tim Robinson are clearly talented, but neither has yet to make a movie that has really hit the zeitgeist. Now, granted, I could be totally wrong on what makes a great comedy comedy movie. These are just the 3 points that I see. But I am hoping that really soon we're going to see a return to comedy movies being in theaters and being in the zeitgeist, because I just think they're really fun to go see, and I think we're missing out on some great theater experiences.